Hello, and welcome to Transformation by Truth podcast, where the called become the chosen, and those who have been dedicated to serve the Most High receive the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as we progress our quest for holiness, perfection, and everlasting life. My name is D.L. Anderson. I'll be your tour guide. Let's get started with today's lesson. Hello, my friends. D.L. Anderson here. Welcome back to Transformation by Truth podcast and the quest for holiness, perfection, and everlasting life. Today, we have another brief word from your host, a reminder that exciting times are on the way. The title of today's podcast is The Perfection of the Set-Apart Ones. Let us cleanse ourselves from all defilement of the flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of Elohim. 2 Corinthians 7:1. The podcast objectives are: reveal the fundamental reason why ministers exist, discuss the importance of having a blueprint for perfection, discuss the importance of having a roadmap and a guide in your quest for holiness. Now, our first section is entitled, The Fundamental Reason Why Ministers Exist. In our most recent podcast, we thoroughly analyzed the singular purpose of ministry. And we came to see how this purpose is centered on the unification of all who have been called and are being set apart. To be precise, the singular purpose of every ministry recognized by the Father is to unify its members in the belief and the knowledge of Yahushua Messiah, the Son of Elohim, the perfect man, and the standard by which we are chosen to inherit everlasting life. As I mentioned yesterday, this purpose can be divided into 3 degrees or parts, i.e., a fundamental degree, which serves as the foundation, a focal degree, which serves as the body, and the critical degree, which serves as the key ingredient. Now, the fundamental degree of ministry, as revealed to us in Ephesians 4:11, is the perfection of the set-apart ones. This is precisely why I, unlike many of my counterparts in the church circuit, embrace the scriptural model of perfection, and I have become a champion of it. Think about that for a moment. As a minister, the fundamental reason why I exist is to provide you with the tools, the teaching, and the training to achieve perfection in your life. It doesn't matter what office I occupy, whether I'm a pastor, a deacon, or an administrator. The foundation of my purpose is to support you in your pursuit of perfection. Here's a question. How can I, or anyone who claims to be a minister, guide you down the path to perfection if we have not mastered this path, or if we are not in the advanced stages of our quest? The answer, it's not possible. It would be like me trying to teach you a foreign language I have never learned. Along these lines, the perfection of the set-apart spirit is foreign to the vast majorities of those who call themselves ministers. This is why they are not recognized by the Father, for they disregard his standard of perfection. For this cause, we can disqualify every ministry which is not leading men and women in the way of holiness, i.e., the path to perfection, and facilitating their transformation into the spiritual model of Yahushua Messiah. They may be engaged in seemingly good works, but none of these will last. None of these can be used to certify your election into everlasting life. Now, our next section is entitled A Blueprint for Your Success. I spent 2 weeks during the preliminary phase analyzing the spiritual model of perfection for this very cause. If you haven't listened to those podcasts, I invite you to take some time to do so, namely because there are various misconceptions around perfection. For that reason, the Spirit led me to invest 2 weeks executing a deep dive into the scriptural precedents of perfection and its relationship with everlasting life. It is for the following cause, which I will offer as an interest point. If we can't be perfect, then we can't be saved. Here again, I have already invested 2 weeks proving perfection is possible and the singular requirement on everlasting life. From now, I would like to speak to how the corporate pursuit of perfection manifests itself in a ministry. Trust me, I get it. It's one thing to prove scripturally how perfection is possible. It's another thing to put it into practice. On this wise, you must have 3 things in place if you are to succeed. 1, a blueprint. 2, a roadmap. And 3, a guide. In line with our conceptual model, the blueprint is the fundamental degree. It is the foundation, the basis for our success. It is the starting point. Fortunately for us, we have a blueprint for our success. That is Yahushua Messiah, the perfect man, and the only basis, i.e., foundation for our salvation. 1 Peter 2, 20-21 reads, "For what credit is there in enduring a beating when you sin? But if you suffer for doing good and you endure, this finds favor with Elohim. For to this you were called, because Messiah also suffered for us, leaving us an example that you should follow his steps." 1 Corinthians 3, 11-13 reads, "For no one is able to lay any other foundation except that which is laid, which is Yahushua Messiah. And if anyone builds on this foundation, each one's work shall be revealed, for the day shall show it up, because it is revealed by fire, and the fire shall prove the work of each one, what sort it is." Now, our next section is entitled A Guide Who is Qualified and a Roadmap that Ends in Perfection. The focal degree of success in leading men and women into the spiritual model of perfection is a roadmap, i.e., now that we have a blueprint of perfection, we must understand the path by which we are assimilated to this blueprint. As the focal degree, this step is clearly the most time consuming, i.e., It will take more time and effort being transformed into Messiah's spiritual model than it will take understanding who he is fundamentally. No doubt, there are many methods, i.e., roadmaps, you can follow to achieve this goal. However, I do attest that the roadmap outlined by Peter, i.e., the pinnacle of holiness, is the most comprehensive roadmap you will ever find. As you can see by the image to the right, the pinnacle of holiness reveals all the spiritual attributes of the perfect man and the order we must attain unto them to have enduring success. Here again, I can attest to the power of this model because I have lived it. And if there are ministers in our world who have done the same with another model, then I salute them because they have done a remarkable thing. Moreover, I would have you understand that each roadmap these ministers are employing ends in perfection, and they cross the same spiritual terrain as mine. And at the end of the day, that really is all that matters. And it is why these men are also men of Elohim. It is also why they're qualified guides, which is the critical degree of success in this enterprise. Trust me, the path to perfection, although manageable, requires an advanced spiritual faculty, and such a faculty is not achieved overnight. Quite the contrary, it takes years following a physically and spiritually demanding course. And should you succeed these leading frames of this course, then and only then will you be qualified to minister on behalf of the kingdom of heaven. Here's a question. Would the Father employ men to lead his flocks down a path they have never traveled, knowing their souls are at stake? The answer, no, he wouldn't. For this cause, I advise you to find a guide who is qualified and someone who has a roadmap that ends in perfection. You will know because the Spirit will bear witness, and this man or woman will bear good fruit. And in the end, so will you. Now, here is the final word. For a ministry to succeed, everyone must know and excel in their role, beginning at the top. My dear friends, this is the only model of ministry that can succeed. For if the leaders of the congregation are committed to leading their flocks down the path to perfection in the way of holiness, those who are not true contenders will leave on their own volition. This may not appear to be the ideal scenario by those who are walking by sight and not by faith, but I assure you, it is the Father's will. What is more, I can think of a worse scenario. That is, those who are neither called nor chosen will stay and corrupt the ministry until each member is compromised. You must believe me, this is happening on a scale mortal man can neither quantify nor understand. And you must avoid it at all costs if you have plans to be eternally saved. Now, here is the assignment for today. As you have time, please go back and review all the podcasts I have posted thus far to aid you as you prepare for the quest ahead. Specifically, I would like for you to invest some time reviewing the podcast I have already posted on perfection. These were posted between January 17th and 28th of 2022. And as always, please reach out to me directly if you have any questions. Now, here is what's next. We completed today's podcast, The Perfection of the Set Apart Ones. And the next podcast is TBD. I don't know when I'll post it or what I'll be saying in that podcast. My goal is to have it on the podcast by Friday. Either way, I'll live by the Spirit, and I trust you will too. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Remember to tune in with us every Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And if you haven't already, visit us at www.pinnacleofholiness.com and make sure you sign up to join the quest for holiness, perfection, and everlasting life 2022.